So my friend texted me this picture and asked me how I would create this using Photoshop. So what we're looking at here is something with a transparent background that can be easily applied over multiple settings. The editable points would be the text, the timeline of the song, and the photo, obviously. So looking at that, I'm going to use Photoshop and I'll show you how I did that. So my first step is to take a screenshot from Spotify. So this was a song that I picked because of the dark background. I thought it would be easier to isolate the bottom colors down here that I would need to see. So any song, it doesn't really matter what song, I just picked something with a dark background. So that's what we're going to start with. And this will be the final product. So, and again, the square is just a placeholder. Whatever picture the person gave you, you would throw in right there. So I'm going to go to open and I'll open up this screenshot. So the cool thing that Photoshop is now doing when you first open up a photo is it's opening in Camera Raw. This was something that you used to be able to access. It actually just looks really similar to Lightroom with the sliders on the right side. And there is a way to edit this after the fact, but I'll show you just how to do it right here. So the first thing that I'm going to do is create a lot of contrast. So I've taken this all the way up to 100 to see the contrast, and then I've taken the whites all the way down. If I highlight the whites, it's going to undo some of what I did with the contrast. So I'm going to take the whites all the way down so that it's severely a difference between the blacks and the whites of the photo. Now, if I click done, which is what I did last time, it's just going to save all of those presets that I just created, and you can be done in Photoshop completely. But instead, I'm going to select open. Now, if there was something I did that I didn't quite like, you can always go into image adjustments, and this is how you see those individual sliders broken up. So if I click hue saturation, there'll be my sliders right here. So once my photo's open, I see I have this little orange line that I cut out in my screenshot. So I'm going to use my crop tool and just pull that up a little bit. And then I'll pull it down because we don't really need all that space in the top. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to create a duplicate of my background layer in case I need to go back for whatever reason. So I'm just going to click that and drag it down to the little plus sign to create an additional layer. Now I'm going to hide my background layer. The next thing I want to do is create a placeholder for the square in the background so I get it the right size. So I'm going to create another layer. Then I'm going to use my selection tool and I'm going to click and drag a square that's the same size as that one. Then it's a little off. Control D, deselect. I'm going to do it again. Click and drag. I've got my square. Then I just need to fill it. So I'm going to go with my paint bucket tool, put black as my foreground color, and now I've gotten that black square right off the bat. So Control D, deselecting that, and then I'm going to hide that for later. So the next thing I want to do is go to my background copy layer, and I am going to go up to select in the menu bar, go to color range, and this is where I'm going to get rid of everything I don't need. Is make sure select is set to highlights. You want the fuzziness to be all the way up so you can see everything. And then you can mess with this range tool. I'm going to pull it all the way up and then see some of the lettering's cut out. So I want to slowly drag it down until I have more of that visible. Okay. So now that I have all of those little pieces selected, I'm going to go up to select in my menu bar and click inverse, which just does the opposite selection. Now I'm going to get off the paint bucket tool, go to my move tool, then I'll go up to edit in the menu bar and down to fill. Oops, I clicked stroke. I meant to hit fill, edit, fill. And then I'll have this option. So if you click content aware, which is probably what the default will be, it's going to automatically try to fill in the background, which was with whatever's around it. So instead, I'm going to click black. I want it to fill in the background with black and then select OK. And then I'll do Control D to deselect, and I did a pretty good job. So there's still some remnants of my background right here. I'm going to use my paintbrush tool, and then that's fine. I have black selected already, so I'm just going to paint in some of this background to get rid of that. Perfect. So the next thing I really want to do is to create a text that's going to match and looks like it belongs on Spotify. So as we mentioned, when we're making this image, the three things that are really going to need to change with each new project are going to be the picture and the text for the song, the text for the minutes in the song on the timeline. So I'm going to go to my type tool, and it's easy. I have a hard time with text matching. So it's easiest for me if I create text that's the same size and color and then try to just visually match it up that way. So I'm going to type the word tremble. I'm in black right now, so I need to select that. change it to white. Okay. And then I'm going to use my move tool and put it right next to that other word. Now, I'm not worried about the space between the lettering because that's changeable. We can use that. We can edit that. I'm just worried about finding a font that looks really comparable. So I'm going to, instead of doing this, because then I'll block my vision, I'm going to go and open up the character panel. So I'm going to go to Windows and then select Character. Now I can filter through these fonts on the right side and I can preview them next to my original without it blocking my vision. So I'm just going to kind of scroll down here. Anything I see that looks close. That one's not bad. That one's pretty close. Let's see, Acumen Pro. Okay, I like this one right here. It's pretty close. Now let's adjust the spacing to see if we can get it even better. Let's see. All right. Now this is obviously not the same exact font, but it looks close enough that if you didn't see that original, you would not know a difference. So next we're going to try to match the words underneath. So this would be the band title at the bottom. So again, I'm going to type match the font, Bethel Music, so I can see it. And for me, it helps to match the color as well. So since this color is a little bit different, I'm going to see if I can do that. And it's obviously smaller. So we'll do this. We'll make it, let's say like 12 or 14. That's good. And then I'm going to try to match this. So I click that color bar up in the top, and then I'm going to sample the color in that original word. Let's see if I can get it. There we go. Okay, now the color looks right. And honestly, now that I did that, it looks pretty close to that. I'm thinking that might be the same exact font that they used in both. So let's make mine a little bit smaller. 14 was too big. Yeah, I don't think I need a different font. I think I'm going to stick with that one. So now that I've got the fonts that I will use when I create this, I'm going to go and I'm going to erase this original text. So I'm going to use my brush tool again, and then make sure you're on the correct layer, go on my background copy, and I'm going to just blot this out. All right, so I will move this text over to the left side. Let's a little bit further down some. Okay, and then remember, I also created that box at the beginning. So now I have black on black, so I can change the box if I want to. Now that I'm on this layer, I'll just go to my paint bucket tool, flip the colors, and do that. So that's what it would look like with a black background. And you remember at the beginning, I chose a black background. Now I could have chosen white, the one thing instead of black. Now, if you don't choose a color and you just want a transparent background, that would be a little bit more complicated. But again, then you'll just select everything and delete it. So I'll show you an example of that. If I go to my background copy layer right now, go up to select, color range, do this again, then click OK. Then we'll go to select inverse. And then instead of filling it with black, I could just delete it. So now I have this transparent background. So the last thing that I would share is how to add an image to this background. So I'm going to open up a picture that I had over here, and then make sure you unlock the background. I've already done that. Then I'm just going to Control-C, copy this image, and Control-V, bring it over here. Now it's underneath this layer, so I'll just drag that layer up, drag this one down. Now I just need to resize this, so Control-T, and then I'll drag my picture so it takes up that box. And I don't even need to worry about getting it the right size. All I'm going to do is make a clipping mask here. So since I already have that box there, I can confirm the changes here. Then I'm going to make a clipping mask. So all you do is hold down Alt on your keyboard and then hover between those two layers. And when you see that box with the arrow pointing down pop up, you're going to click. And there it goes. It just fits automatically to the box that you've created. So it's super easy, super simple. Now that I have this template made, all I would need to do is switch out the image each time that this image was ordered and then change the name in the bottom box.